Hi, welcome to the Vitamin D Deficiency Zone. As my fellow Northern Hemisphere inhabitants know, January kinda sucks. So what better way to push through the winter blues than make drastic changes to my clothing, instead of just donating the stuff I don't want like a normal person. Now get ready to meet today's participants. Boring button down, obnoxious orange sweater, missed the mark cardigan, and itchy armpits dress. So the first change I'm going to make is actually dyeing some of my clothes. I have a couple buckets and some RIT dye. So the first thing I'm going to change is actually this blue button down. It's supposed to look like it's denim. I saw someone recently wearing a button down like this that was like a washed gray, and I thought it looked really nice actually, so I want to try dyeing this gray. Likewise, I will also be attempting to dye this hat. So these are going to be my two items that I dye gray, and while I'm at it, since dyeing clothing is very tedious, I did buy this black dye to go ahead and refresh some of my black clothing. All of my cotton leggings that I wear a lot underneath dresses and skirts are very faded and just look kind of awful, honestly. So that's the biggest thing, and that's going to be the most tedious and time consuming. Next up is this sweater that I could not sell. I tried to sell this on eBay for probably a good 6 months and there were just no takers. It is kind of a weirdly specific thing, just a very floppy big orange sweater, and it's very orange. It's pumpkin orange. So I'm gonna make this my designated Halloween sweater. I have some black craft felt that I just got at Walmart, and I'm gonna cut it into a jack-o'-lantern face and attach that to this sweater, and I think that'll be really cute. Keeping with the theme of sweaters, I tried to revive this cardigan last year. What is time? I tried to revive this cardigan last Valentine's Day time, approximately, by embroidering some flowers on it, but I just don't love the cut of the sweater. So I'm going to try cropping it and adding some lettuce leaf hems to it and see if I can make it just cuter. And then the last alteration I want to do, I've been sitting on this for a couple years now. I'm obsessed with this fabric still. I know this screams 2017. It's probably a little outdated. I don't care. I am obsessed with this botanical embroidery. It's pretty itchy though around the arms. I think it would be more fun to have this as a skirt that would be interchangeable with other tops, and I could create so many different looks with it. So I'm gonna just separate the skirt portion of it. I still have the little slip that came with it so that I can create a lining for the skirt. So I think that would be a fun piece to have in my wardrobe. Like I said, first thing I tackled was dyeing my clothes. Although filming it was rather pointless as you can't see anything I'm doing. The most suitable place to dye my clothes was in our mudroom sink, but we don't really have a mudroom, we have a mud closet. Not the most amenable conditions for filming. Anyway, once I had everything soaking in the dye, I had to continually stir the clothes for the duration of the dyeing process, which just made me feel like Charlie Bucket's mom when she sings that song like, "Oh, cheer up, Charlie. You're such a special boy." I still wasn't satisfied with the color of the shirt after using the gray dye, and the hat didn't change at all, so I decided to redo both with my remaining black dye. And at long last, I repeated the process with a color fixative before washing everything for a third time. So, that took over 6 hours to do all that dyeing. And now I am dying. I am but an empty shell of a person. It probably was not a good idea to try doing all of that in one day, but I'm the kind of person who likes to try to knock out similar tasks all at once. Yeah. I thought I would get around to at least one other alteration yesterday, but I guess I'll be doing those today. So trying to refresh my black clothing, I don't think that made much, if any, difference. At least not that I can tell. Yeah, they look the same to me. I probably didn't use enough black dye, but if I had used the whole bottle, I would not have had any black dye left over to dye this shirt, which was my main reason for dyeing anything at all. This is not what I originally had in mind, but it's fine. I'm okay with it. I have no regrets. It feels like I have a whole new shirt. The beanie though, I am just so disappointed. It's still pink. It's just like a gray, beige, grayish pink. You know what though? I have one more bottle of the gray. Maybe I should just murder this in gray Rit dye and see if it takes. But for now, I want to move on to my sweaters. So I'm gonna move on to this cardigan with the embroidery. My plan is to crop this and then also remove the cuff from the sleeve and make everything a lettuce leaf hem. I think that'll be way cuter. And then go from there if I decide it needs anything else. Excuse me, miss, your head is in the shot. Okay, that's a little better, thank you. I decided to use my lovely new serger for the lettuce hems, stretching the fabric as I went. You can also do this just using the zigzag stitch on a regular sewing machine. It didn't quite feel finished yet, so I decided to add a ribbon tie closure to the front. This, somehow, was the only white ribbon I had in my stash. I don't know what happened. And now that that's out of the way, let's move on to my orange sweater, which, as I mentioned, I would be turning into a jack-o'-lantern. This is by far the most straightforward of the alterations I did. It just required cutting my shapes out of the felt and attaching them to the sweater. You could easily do this by hand if you don't have a sewing machine, which is probably what I should have done given how tricky the knit of this sweater is, but I really liked how the zigzag stitch enclosed the edges of the felt so cleanly, so I tried to make it bend to my will. I did have to seam pick and redo certain bits a few times, but eventually it did work out. So I am finally onto the last project, which is turning this dress into a skirt. It's going to take me about 5 years to finish picking this seam apart though. So once I've detached the skirt portion of this, then I'm going to take this lining that came with it and also turn that into a skirt as well to go underneath of the mesh. I need to cut my elastic waistband and then pretty much just attach everything from there. But it is very late, so I'll probably just prep everything tonight that I can and finish sewing it tomorrow. To prep everything to sew the following day, I finished seam ripping the skirt from the bodice.
I need a snack.
And cut my lining and waistband. I probably should have made that lining a little bit longer, but oh well. I used a zigzag stitch to attach the lining to the outer fabric so that both fabrics would still stretch. And while I was at it, I hemmed the bottom of the mesh since whoever originally manufactured the dress apparently couldn't be bothered. I stretched the elastic as I sewed it to the skirt, then stitched everything down one last time, flipped right side out. Alright, everything is finally done. I'm pretty pleased with how this all turned out. I'm especially glad to have gotten around to this one. I think this has been sitting in my alterations bin for 3 years now. So I'm really excited to get to wear this, especially as we move into springtime. I think this will be a lot of fun. I think my favorite though has to be this. I think the pumpkin sweater is my favorite. The fabric of the sweater was really tricky to work with and ended up kind of creating some puckers, but when I put it on, it's not as noticeable, so I think it's fine. Yeah, now I have a designated Halloween sweater. Least favorite is probably the blue to black button down. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just not that exciting, but this is a fun change that I think will let me get more use out of it. You know, I really like this as well. I mean, I have my favorites, but I like them all. I don't know how much I'll actually wear this one, but this is just freaking adorable. I do have some more alterations I'm gonna do while I'm in sewing mode, but I don't feel like filming them. But I am very pleased with how these turned out. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Don't worry, it's just nerds in here. Tangy. Well, I guess now I have to sit here and finish these.